yeah, so they had obviously the choice to terminate the pregnancy or not, and mum decided against that. Um, but I was born earlier through a C-section because that was sort of deemed as more safe than a natural birth because of the risk of fractures. The fact was, whilst I was in the womb, I was fracturing bones as I was developing. So I was
Really?
born, yeah, I was born with basically every bone at some point over that pregnancy was broken, except my skull, I believe. That was the only one. But coming out, I was both arms and legs and ribs had fractures.
So was that just due to movement in the womb as
Yep,
well, Danny?
yep. Just me, like a baby does, kicking, moving around, wriggling would cause fractures. That's how delicate I was at that age, and as a fetus, as a baby.
And the bones are so soft anyway, so that's probably the reason why that is.
Yeah,
Yeah. So are there different levels of the disease that you have?
yeah. There's a lot. There's type 1, and I'm going to butcher this, probably going to have to Google it yourselves, but type 1 is very sort of mild on the face of it. People can, be walking around, will fracture easier than an average person. The bone density is lesser than an average person. This is where I get a little bit confused because there's type 2 and type 3. My understanding is type 2 is more severe than type 3. Type 2 is the most severe you can get. Um, with type 2, there is an element of short stature, but a lot more severe than myself. So I come in at about 3'6", 3'7". Um, but typically people with type 2 are like around the 3 foot mark or slightly less. Um, Very little upper body strength. We'll use the power chair often than not. I'm more on the type 3 side of being a type 2. Um, Whereas type 3 is, again, it's more milder. Probably a bit more what I would look like physically as well, but a little less prone to fractures than myself or someone with type 2.
So your parents knew this was going to be the case,
Hmm.
but obviously they don't have any experience. You just gotta see what happens and kind of go with
Yeah.
that. You know, what
The,
are you their first child as well, Danny?
my mum's second child, my dad's fourth child, yeah. So, bit of backstory, my mum's English, my dad's Palestinian. So he has uh, my brother, who is the eldest, David, and then he has two other kids that are younger than my brother, David, Sharif, and Iman, and then myself, and then there's three more after me as well. Uh, Ashraf, Allah, and I'm gonna have to edit this bit out because I'm gonna get in trouble. Uh, Ashraf, Allah, and Amine. I'll do that again because
It's a big
so
family though, Danny.
I
You've
know,
got a
yeah,
big family going on
yeah.
there. I mean, it's hard to remember every. I mean, are you in touch with
Well,
them all? Can you see them
so
often or
I
not?
actually didn't know the existence of a lot of them until after my mum passed away. I only, as far as I was concerned, it was me and my brother David, and then after my mum died, there's this sort of whole world that opened up, and I discovered that I had other siblings.
Well, we can forgive you kind of forgetting a few names here
Yeah,
and there, you know, because that's the thing. If you don't grow up, it's really hard to, remember people, especially even aunts, uncles, and all this kind of thing, you know.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
because you only know who is under your roof, really, and that's your close family and your
yeah, yeah,
immediate
yeah,
family as well.
yeah. So,
So, just to just to go back to you're born and obviously your mum and dad have you and you have this disease.
mhm.
So, I mean, what were your early days like? Because I mean,
Yeah.
nobody else
Um,
can understand apart from yourself, you know?
it's obviously it's 1992. Like the knowledge around disability in general was a lot different than now. You didn't really see disabled kids or people on the streets. There wasn't the same media coverage or exposure for disabled people as there is today. So there was just very little knowledge out there in the public domain. Same, the internet wasn't readily available like it is now. You couldn't even go on Google or Instagram or TikTok, or there was no like role model or no like sort of
Like instant advice, isn't it? Really?
yeah,
Kind of,
there was none of that around back then, and um, it's all been like kind of it was all like circumstance and luck that played a big part in my development. So where I was born, at Billinge Hospital, was then referred to a consultant at Wigan Infirmary, Dr. Hopcroft, and he was in charge of ortho. So every time I'd have a fracture, we'd go in, see him, they couldn't slap a cast on me when I was that young and that fragile. So they used to do this thing called gallows. But basically, you'd be on the bed, they'd have like a frame that would come over the bed either side, two pieces of string dangling off the bed, and then they'd wrap your legs. So it was my legs that was more prone to fracturing than my upper body. They'd wrap my legs in bandages, attach it to the piece of rope, and then they'd lift your bum about an inch off the bed, and you'd stay like that for about 6 weeks. So that was a lot of my childhood.
Is that from day one, Danny? Is this kind of it's how old were you when like
It was a regular thing from being born. I don't know if it was like day one, but I can imagine probably was a lot of um, intervention from the hospital in that, in terms of controlling the fractures. And there's a lot of trial and error from my mum, because you know yourself when you have a baby and that you're picking them up, you're changing them. Any little thing like that would have caused a fracture. That's how delicate I was.